Yo, what's up guys, it's Dylan E back with another story about the time that I failed a drug test for MDMA while I was on probation. So kick back, engage in your vice of choice, and enjoy. So this story took place around 2020. That was back near the start of the COVID pandemic. I had been on probation for about 2 years at this point. I haven't done a probation story yet, so I will give a bit of a background. I got my mom's house raided back when I was 17, and I got caught with a ton of shrooms, ton of weed, and a bunch of acid. So if that's a story you guys be interested in hearing, let me know in the comments, and I'll definitely do that one. So I had a bunch of drug-related charges, and that's why I was on probation. I was so scared of my PO back then, especially when I first got on probation. The first time I ever walked into my PO's office, I remember my grandma gave me a ride, and it was in this big building, and you had to take an elevator up to like the 4th floor, and that was for the misdemeanor probation office. And in this elevator, I saw one of my old friends from high school that was also a good customer of mine for years, and we're both like, yo, what the fuck is up? And he asked me, you're going to probation too? And I'm like, yeah, I got raided. And of course he wasn't surprised, being one of my customers. So I asked him, well, what'd you do? Why are you going to probation? And he's like, dude, I was drunk driving and I crashed into a cop car. Now Jake was always one of the most funny and unserious people I had ever met, and we just both died laughing even though I know he was dead serious. But the situation was just so funny to say out loud that we both just couldn't stop laughing. When I finally got into the office, the first thing my PO ever said to me was he asked me, hey, is your grandma gonna freak out if she sees someone get arrested? Of course I shit my pants immediately, dude. I was like, here we go. I'm on my first ever meeting with my PO and I'm already about to get a violation of probation. And I'd seen when I'd spent some time in jail, and that's definitely another story I'm gonna have to tell, but I'd already seen what happens when you get a violation of probation. You get sent back to jail and you're gonna be there for a month or so, at least in New York, because there is no bail or bonds when you violate your probation over there. So I'm terrified thinking my grandma's gonna see me get arrested. So I shakily tell him, I'm like, no, I don't think she'll freak out. And he says, did you see that guy that was sitting on the bench in the waiting room next to you? And I'm like, yeah. And it's actually funny because my grandma, she was making some small talk with that guy, and he seemed like a really decent young man, I'm not gonna lie, but my PO goes, good, because he was smoking weed, so I'm sending him back to jail. He just failed the test. And I saw through the hallways, some police came out of the back out of nowhere, handcuffed him, and they took him off. So that set a precedent like, yo, this guy is not a guy you want to fuck with. If you had seen my video, the drug tier list, then you would know I got my medical card specifically so I could just smoke on probation. But I still was getting drug tested for everything else that they could. So I was doing hella psychedelics, which don't even show up on drug tests. But this was the time that I started really getting into Molly. So I thought I was super slick because Molly usually leaves your system pretty fast. And I was taking a lot, so I would wait like 3 days before I had to see my PO because I was pretty lucky. I knew some people that were on the color system, which means they had to call a number every single day, and that number would play like a recorded voice that told you a color. And if it was your specific color, then you had to go and take a drug test that day, or you would get a violation of probation. So I would just get random ones whenever my PO felt like it. It's based on vibes. I get vibes drug tested. Just recently before that, like a week prior, my PO had come to my apartment, and it was randomly, and my apartment was in disarray. I was all tweaked out on the Molly, so he could tell something was up. So when I had my next meeting with him, he randomly decided he was going to drug test me. It had probably been like 3 days since I last took a roll because I knew this could happen, but I still would get super nervous every time because you always have that what if. Like, what if you fail even though it's been a minute? So he takes me to the bathroom, he watches me piss in the cup, and like 30 seconds later he gets the result because he would just use an immediate test result cup. He wouldn't do a lab test or nothing on me. So he just goes, I got you. And I'm like, huh? And he's like, you failed for amphetamines. So that looks really bad, guys, like I'm taking speed or I'm taking meth or something. So I quickly tried to explain to him, and I admit, I just took some Molly, I messed up. I don't really remember saying anything more than that because anything you say can just be used against you and it's gonna make it worse for yourself. So I think I just shut up beyond admitting it was Molly and not something that was even more socially unacceptable. I had to at least say that much. And the whole time just thinking my first time going to probation, seeing the guy in the lobby, seeing him get arrested right in front of my grandma, and I'm like, dude, dude, that's gonna be me. But I'm super lucky, guys, because I think my PO saw the light in me. It might sound stupid to people who have had a shitty PO before, but I think both the ones that I had when I was on probation, including this first guy that was such a hard ass, he really just wanted to see me make it all the way through. He didn't want to have to send me back to jail. I don't think either of my POs did. And I wasn't having any problems with the law so far. I hadn't been in any really new trouble since I started probation. So he tells me, I'm gonna give you another chance. I'm not gonna violate you, but if you ever fail a test like this again, I'm gonna have no choice. I have to. So maybe that first guy had also had other chances. I'm not really sure, but I feel like failing for amphetamines is way crazier than failing for THC personally. But I was so thankful. I thanked him probably 20 times, and I vowed to not fail anymore, which I don't think I even ended up holding up that part of the deal, because I failed like 5 tests for alcohol, but I'd always just make up an excuse like, oh, I was with my family, they're all drinking, I just had like 1 drink. And I really now I think, wow, that was so stupid, dude. I wasn't even 21 at the time. I wasn't even allowed to drink legally, whether I was on probation or not. I literally could have just been smoking weed. I had my medical card, didn't have to risk going to jail at all, but I was risking it all constantly, dude. I was so stupid. So don't ever be a dumbass like me, guys. Hope you enjoyed this one, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.